Yesterday, the first day of the new league year in the NFL, and we do have some Bills moves, and not the moves from before being made official yet. Joey Bosa and others, those aren't official yet. But the Bills do trade Kaiir Elam to the Dallas Cowboys. They send Elam and a 6th this year for a 5th this year and a 7th next year. So they move up around in this year's draft and they get a 7th next season. More importantly, they get $2.5 million in cap space by trading Elam, which they would not have had they released him. They would have saved nothing with the release. They saved money with the trade and they got it done. Damar Hamlin is back to the Bills on a 1-year, $2 million deal after starting for the Bills all last season. The Bills also reportedly are signing safety Derek Forrest, who started 17 games for the Commanders over the last 4 years. To the NFL, Chargers bringing back wide receiver Mike Williams. That's a 1-year, $6 million deal. Jets letting go of longtime linebacker C.J. Mosley, 5-time Pro Bowler, is now available. There are rumors, though, that he could retire at 32 years old. Cooper Kupp was released yesterday. Mike Garafolo says that Kupp has significant interest and should have a new home by today. Meanwhile, it does not sound like the case for Aaron Rodgers, who there are rumors and reports that he's going to take his time deciding between the Giants and the Steelers. Although there is a report the Vikings are interested in Rodgers as well now. Russell Wilson traveling to Cleveland for a visit with the Browns yesterday. The Falcons pick up a $10 million bonus for Kirk Cousins, which indicates that they do plan on keeping him. Sabres lose 7-3 in Detroit last night. Bunch of scrums at the end of the game. The Sabres had like 5 players left on the bench at the end of it. Josh Norris scored his first goal as a Sabre. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
It's Jeremy.
All right, hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. Good morning, Jeremy and Joe. Good morning, Joe.
Happy Thursday.
Morning, Josh, fellas. Owen, how is everybody? Good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. How are things
nice.
there?
It's going to be nice today again. We're looking at some higher temps in the 50s and sun, and then tomorrow, 65.
Mm-hmm.
The golf group chats are blowing up right now, huh?
Yes, they are.
Where can we play? Who's open?
Yep.
Who's taking a tee time?
Who are you betting at the Players? I'm getting that too.
Okay.
That just happened to line up, I guess. So the first nice weekend is also the weekend of the Players, which the Players is kind of the casual start to golf season, I think.
I would
the
agree with
pro
that.
golf season.
We've got Brian Koziel coming on at 6:30, and we've got Kevin Price, former morning show intern, who's down covering the Players. He'll be on at 9. I agree. It's a little bit like the Players is the unofficial start of golf season. Sometimes the Masters gets that, but the Players, since it moved, because it used to be in May.
It used to be in May, which they then moved up because
PGA,
they put the PGA in May.
And they moved the Players earlier.
Yep.
Maybe, how long ago was that? Maybe
not
that.
5 years ago, right? Nothing. I don't think it was that long ago.
When I played Sawgrass, it was right after the Players, and that was in March, so maybe it's not that. I don't know. Anyway, it's not important. It's start of golf season now because that's where we are. The Players, a great course, an iconic course, an elevated event, so, whatever. You get a big field, a really good field, and that's today. And it makes you want to golf, which,
It does. It does. And has it been warm enough though for a couple of days that we think the ground isn't just going to be a heaping mess of mud and whatever?
Yeah, you're getting the bug to golf.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's probably right. So anyway, good morning. and Players Championship week. We've got plenty to get to today. Like I said, 2 guests on the golf. Sal joins us at 8 o'clock, and Brian Koziel at 6:30 again, also on Sawgrass, but on the Sabres too, who played a game last night with dark jerseys.
Yeah, because the Red Wings wanted to wear their Winter Classic jerseys again. They're in their home building. So, and their Winter Classic jerseys are white, so Sabres needed color. I don't know. Did they request the Sabres wear black and red?
That's a good question, because the Sabres could have worn blue.
Yeah. I don't know. The Red Wings wearing helmets that looked like... Do you remember what the Dominic Hasek Red Wings goalie helmet looked like?
Yes.
He had the Wings. Cage. It was a cage, but he had the Wings logo kind of on it, and that's kind of what they looked like yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is rare, right? Like, NHL doesn't usually have helmets on their logo, or logos on their helmets, I don't think. Sabres have never had a logo on their helmet, other than like the real little one.
No, they looked like football helmets last night. Maybe it was the logo on the side, maybe it was the stripe down the middle, but they look like football helmets.
The stripe too. Yeah, no, that you're right. Is that on purpose too, because they were playing in a football stadium?
Probably at the time, yeah. They look like football helmets or mini helmets from the 80s that you would get for buying M&Ms or something, or what are those? You'd get those mini helmets if you mailed in your cereal box tops, or oh no, I'm sorry, it was the quarter machines where you turned it and a mini helmet would come out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
One of those. Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm with you. I know what you're talking about.
That's what they look like. Yeah. So the Sabres lost, and they got blown out by the Detroit Red Wings because,
Yeah. Which whatever, like that. They're in last place. They're a last place team. They were on the road. They lost 7-3. More of what people I think are mad about from yesterday isn't that. It's that we have another Matthias Samuelsson is just like not going to do anything. He's 6'6", and I've got my 19-year-old that's trying to run through 4 guys to defend one of their teammates. It's getting hit over the head while he's on the ground.
All right, fun question to start. Ready? Bigger miss, Matthias Samuelsson or Kaiir Elam?
Oh, good question.
Right? What's the bigger miss? I mean, in Elam's case, you didn't extend him for 7 years.
Right. There's no commitment to the same degree, but it was a first round pick.
Samuelsson did spend time playing.
Yes.
And Elam rarely did that, but when he did, he had some moments, some good, some not so good.
12 starts, I think. I looked again at his game log yesterday. He had 3 bad games in 12 starts, which is more bad games than like Christian Benford has in 12 games, for instance. It wasn't as bad. Statistically, it wasn't nearly as bad as what people would probably think. Samuelsson might be worse. Well, maybe. I don't know. It Can I cheat and say, can you give me a crystal ball what the Sabres are going to do with him? If they're going to keep him for 5 years, then I feel like that's a bigger miss. But if they're going to just say, hey, it's only $700,000 to buy him out in the offseason, I'll just do that, I might feel like then I'll take Elam as being worse.
Well, you got to do the math for me. If they buy him out, you said it's $700,000 a season?
Yeah, over 10 years.
How much actual money do they save over those 10 years?
So
that's the equation you've got to do.
Yeah, I'll look, because what I know from the CBA, which this rule doesn't often come up, I guess if you buy a guy out at age 25 or younger, you only have to pay 33% of the money over twice the term. Whereas if once he turns 26, then it's 67% of the money from there on out. And this is the last offseason before Samuelsson turned 26. So this offseason, it's that for the cap, and then the next year it doubles because of his age. In terms of what the real money saved would be by the Sabres, because we do have to play that game with them. He has a $4.2 million salary, and real money, they would be saving, let's see,
like $20 million.
Yeah, like about. It looks like 18 to 21 million, something like that. Yeah.
Well, in that case, I will listen to them doing it. I thought they bought out Jeff Skinner to save actual dollars, and I think they would entertain buying out Matthias Samuelsson to save actual dollars. I mean, that's why everybody buys a player out, to not pay a guy that you think isn't very good, But if you're not saving, whatever. The Sabres are not a team that is going to say, let's do it for the cap relief. They're doing it for the actual dollars relief. If there was no dollars relief, I don't think you might do it. So, okay.
Yeah, you'd be saving like, it looks like $16 million might be the final answer.
$16 million.
Yeah, roughly. But you would, they'll be paying someone to not play for you for a very long time.
Right.
They pay coaches not to play for them. They're paying
That's
Jeff
right.
Skinner to not play for them, so it's not like they wouldn't do that. But it would be, all right, we're going to give this guy $8 million over the course of a decade to not play for us. Again, that number, though, isn't that big. $8 million. You can go out and give out a 1-year contract for $8 million, then the guy's gone the next year. So, yeah, I don't think he does anything for me. And I've got one of your top defensemen who has a concussion history, who's getting hit on the ice by a guy who has not been in the NHL for a decade. And again, Samuelsson, you can't get his gloves off. You just can't get his gloves off. Benson is the one that's running around, and Josh Norris, the new guy, is the one that's trying to get in there.
Hey, Benson, we spoke it into existence. I asked you said he's a analytics darling. I said, can he be a score sheet darling? And he was last night.
He scored. He scored, and he set up Norris
That's
for
right.
his first. Yep.
So, ask and you shall receive. Zach Benson on the score sheet. As the Sabres did lose 7-3.
Yeah.
So, one thing about the Sabres, and, we've got plenty on the Bills. I do want to talk about the Elam move and what it means for the Bills and how they're kind of loading up. But on last night, really what is left for this season for them? It's seeing if Josh Norris fits in, and there's another little elephant in the room about the core and being wrong about the core. So Cousins getting traded is, all right, we were wrong about this, let's shake it up. Samuelsson probably next, and there might be a third guy they were wrong about, or he's just having a rough go of it, and that is Luukkonen.
Yeah.
Because, man, it's been a rough year for him. At least a very rough year on a follow-up of what was a good year. And that's the saddest part maybe of all of this, Joe, is they can never seem to string together the years where they score with the years that they get saves. And this is a year that they score and don't get saves. And for many years, I can think back to a tank year or two, they were getting saves, but of course we didn't want them to. But linking those two up, getting a save while also scoring. The year they missed the playoffs by 1 point, they couldn't get a save to save their lives. Nobody could stop a puck. And until Levi showed up, and they leaned on him like crazy because they needed anybody to make a save. And Luukkonen's in year 1 of this big extension, and it has not gone well. And I don't know, is he young enough for a buyout? I don't think you're buying him out. I think you're probably more likely to just hope that it comes back.
Rather than, right, because a core shakeup with him feels harder to accomplish, maybe, than anybody else. What would you do with him? I did my Locked On Sabres episode yesterday, kind of on this. If there's a month left of the season, is there anybody left that could turn their year around that we would care about? Within the last month? And the only three I really got to were Samuelsson, who then went and had the night he had and kind of cemented, I think, for everybody, no, I'm good. Luukkonen and then Quinn. And most people that I had in my text club or on Twitter were like, oh, no, it's Luukkonen. Because I think I need him to be playing 40 games again next year. Samuelsson I could just dump if I want, probably. Quinn has never actually really produced yet. It's still been hope and potential. Even the year they missed a couple years ago, it's still only 14 goals. Luukkonen I saw do great a year ago. And what? Is it going to be once every 3 years he does that? Will he never do that again? Because if I'm not going to know what I'm getting out of him going into a year, if it's going to be .892 save percentage and he's ranking 65th in the league in goals saved above expected, then I need another goaltender. And I don't mean Devin Levi. I think I need another goaltender with Devin Levi. But how do I accomplish that? Am I going to be able to trade Luukkonen after he just signed a new contract? Because what value is he going to provide in the league? Maybe you could do the Cousins trade with him. Can you find another team that wants to just trade a struggling goalie for a struggling goalie? I don't know.
Who's that struggling goalie? Do you have a name?
Not really.
Right now, I just did the numbers on this because in the bullpen, we've got a couple of comments, and we're going to get to Owen Parker in our As a Goalie segment because In the bullpen, Joe, the comment came that it's not UPL, it's the defense in front of him, and we'd missed the playoffs with Connor Hellebuck. So I went ahead and I checked goals saved above expected, where Connor Hellebuck is number 1 in the NHL.
Yeah.
And UPL is number 71 in the NHL. Behind James Reimer, 71.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they would be in the race at least, maybe, if Connor Hellebuck was their goaltender.
Well, again, you probably can't do it this way, but if you did it just on...
Can I just add those 35, or sure, how many goals it is?
Subtract 35 goals from where the Sabres are. If he just gives up 35 fewer goals... By the way, if he gives up 35 fewer goals, they probably give up half as many empty netters. Can we go for that?
That's, yeah, they've given up
19 empty netters because they're trailing all the time.
Yep.
I mean, if you gave them 35 goals, forget the empty netters, they would be a plus 10 on goal differential. That's better than both wildcard teams. They'd be just behind the Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
If they just had saves, they'd be, in a playoff spot. They have 202 goals, which is a very respectable number.
Yeah.
Their offense, of course, is good. Their power play is a disaster. But, no, really, if you just gave them the saves, they'd probably be very competitive. And it's a big reason that they're not very competitive. There's another stat that, I don't see people using this one as much. Like maybe you like goals saved above expected. Maybe you like, you can pick. There's another one called really bad starts, which is, doesn't sound all that mathematical, whatever. But really bad starts is how often your save percentage is, I believe, if it's below 900 on a certain number of shots. Let me find the exact definition of really bad starts.
It's probably based on what a save percentage is in a game.
Save percentage below 85%.
In a game? Okay.
Yep. You know how many times, how many of those Luukkonen has this year?
I mean, he had one last night, didn't he?
13.
Oh, that's a ton.
He has 13, which is as many as the last 2 years combined.
Yeah.
His really bad starts, 0, 1, 6, 7, 13.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's really tough.
It is really tough. His quality start percentage. That's another one that some people like to track. You don't have to like all these, but how many good starts, bad starts, average starts.
Yep.
You want to be over 60% on quality start percentage. He's at 51. It is never sexy to just say, if they had a bunch more saves, they'd be a lot more competitive. But it's reality this year. If they had more saves, they'd be more competitive. Period. There have been years where it's the backup goalie that's been the reason they've been dead. Yep. This year, it's the starting goalie. That's a big reason. His save percentage this year is .892.
Yeah. Actually, are you looking at Hockey Reference? Yeah. I wonder if that number is updated from last night. It's going to drop below probably. I mean, he allowed 7. It's enough. They'll probably drop a point or two. So I think that would drop to his career low.
Yeah.
And, again, he's signed. I'd love to say, okay, the Hellebuck idea a couple years ago was always interesting to me just because that's something they haven't done. They've done a lot in this drought. They haven't really gone for established goaltender. They traded a first for Leonard, but he had started 20 games when they traded for him. He was relatively young in the league. They have not gone for the established starting goaltender, the big free agent signing, the big trade idea for a goalie. And I don't know that I'm live for that because I've already got Luukkonen under contract. It almost feels like we're back to it has to be a hockey trade. And you know why? All of these have to be hockey trades because they did pay all these guys.
Yep.
And when you have all these commitments around the roster because you did it early, which there are benefits and there are consequences to that, one of the consequences is if you want to move the guy, you kind of are confined to a hockey trade. And I don't know if you're going to find a hockey trade that involves a goaltender. Trading a goalie for a goalie. Maybe you trade Luukkonen for something and you just go, I don't know who the top free agent goalie is, but that's what I'm up for. I'm ready to see them go in on an established goalie. They have not done that in forever. I couldn't tell you the last time they went after an established goaltender. Might be the 80s.
Yep. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550 if you want it. I mean,
Someone in the chance that Grant Fear. That would be the answer, probably.
Mustering up takes on the Sabres right now. I mean, maybe you got a little Patrick Kane juice from last night and thought, maybe they should have brought him to help fix their power play these last 2 seasons. That might have made a difference as well.
Yeah.
He had a great night last night. And early in the game, the goals that were getting scored, I mean, it was all, not the Norris goal, but, man, laser beams. Tage's goal, right? Like
Kane's goal was on the power play, yeah.
DeBrincat's goal, just
Yep.
pretty impressive set of shooting.
Hopefully, the Sabres are the number 1 team in the league this year on hitting the over.
Is that right?
Yeah, their games hit the over more than any team in the league.
They score and they give up goals.
Yes.
So, hey, we're back to high event hockey. This is like this is how far off at the Granato days. Remember when Granato took the job in year 1, they would give up 7 routinely?
Yeah.
But they'd be exciting, and, we'd bet the over all the time.
I wonder if that's on purpose. Because middle of the year, that wasn't happening to the same degree. And I was in here saying, like, I want them to go back to that. I want them because I didn't even know if I said that. I just said they shouldn't have changed because the roster had changed since then. But they missed the playoffs by 1 point, going all out, try to score as many goals as possible, and not worry about making mistakes. I might have thought they had a better goalie at the time with Luukkonen. And they have kind of ended up there. Like, all the numbers, all the everything points to they're kind of that team again, but I don't know that they're doing it on purpose this time. Like, does Lindy want them doing what Granato? We knew it, right? Granato would say, like, making mistakes and playing an entertaining style for the fans. Players enjoy it too. Like, he was right out there saying it. I don't know that Lindy wants them playing games where it's 5-4 and, it's super high event and it's back and forth up and down the ice.
Wasn't Granato the only coach you've ever heard talk like that?
Yes.
To say Lindy wants them to be more buttoned up or anybody...
Maybe Bruce Boudreau is the only other person.
Maybe.
But yeah, Granato here for sure. Here for sure he's the only one.
Yeah. I mean, you watch a game between 2 random teams on a Thursday on TNT, and if it's 3-3 at the first intermission, they're going to talk to the coach, and the coach is going to say, we got to button this up.
Yes, that's right.
So every coach talks like that. That was what made Granato interesting or different.
He stood out from the pack.
He was a breath of fresh air for a little while there. I mean, people still probably kind of like Granato and respect what he did for the organization because is he the only, here we go, here's another question for you. Is Granato the only coach that overachieved?
Sure.
In 14 years. Who else overachieved? 14 years.
Did he overachieve or did he just properly achieve?
Well, but I mean...
He didn't make it.
No, but he had a team that no one thought would be close that he got in the race, and he built out a couple of stars.
Yeah, he did it with players that were lost, right?
Yeah.
He turned around, we know the list. I mean, Thompson and Dahlin even at the time, and Mittelstadt, and even Skinner if you want it. Like, there were a bunch of players that were lost. So, okay, yeah, sure. But of all the coaches and all the GMs, if I even put them all in the same pot, he would have the highest approval rating, wouldn't he?
Yeah, probably.
I don't even know who would be second for that, really. Maybe Murray would be second, just because it feels like he's the only other one that tried.
Yeah, maybe. Or Ted Nolan, if we're including,
Ted Nolan.
All drought coaches.
Yeah.
803-0550, our phone number. Good morning. It is Thursday. It's going to be nice out there today. Shorts report? Anybody rocking shorts?
No. I'm 28. Okay. 28 when I opened my app today.
It was shorts with listen, that. It was cold yesterday. It did get way down. It got cold.
Yeah.
I don't count because I didn't leave my house. Thursday is my day from home, so I didn't necessarily have to put on shorts versus pants, so I'll remove myself from the shorts report.
I did not wear a jacket again today, though. I think I'm done. There's no
more jackets.
I don't think I'm wearing like at least here or like maybe. If I'm taking the dog for a walk, I will. But if I'm going out somewhere, I'm not wearing a jacket.
Yeah.
I'm done.
When we return, we'll get Brian Koziel's thoughts on all this, on the Sabres from last night as they lost to Detroit. And, playing out the string, you're looking for what players are still a part of the core and whatnot. We'll get his thoughts on UPL. And, of course, Tita Green back this week during the Players' Championship. So we'll chat about that with Mr. Brian Koziel as well. Lots of bills to get to. Kyer Elam traded to the Cowboys, and a deal that people are making fun of the Cowboys for, justifiably so. We can explain why that's obviously so bad for them. But whatever. I mean, he gets a fresh start. They take a flyer, and the Bills get an incredible return on an Elam deal, including saving some cap space along the way. 803-0550. Give us a ring. Brian Koziel on the other side. Jeremy and Joe on WGR.
New league year in the NFL. The Bills making some moves yesterday. Kyer Elam traded to the Dallas Cowboys. The Bills save $2.5 million roughly in cap space by trading Elam. They wouldn't have saved anything by cutting him, so big to move him. They also get a 5th-round pick this year and a 7th next year. They send a 6th with Elam in the trade. So basically they move up a round in this year's draft and they get a 7th on top of it next year. Damar Hamlin back to the Bills on a 1-year, $2 million contract. He wasn't the only safety move yesterday. Derek Forrest signs with the Bills, reportedly. He started 17 games for the Commanders over the course of 4 years. The Jets have released longtime starting linebacker C.J. Mosley, 5-time Pro Bowler with the team. Cooper Kupp released yesterday officially. The Chargers bring back wide receiver Mike Williams on a 1-year, $6 million deal. Sabres lose to Detroit 7-3. Josh Norris scored his first goal as a Sabre. 5 points for Patrick Kane. He passed Gilbert Perreault on the all-time NHL scoring list last night as well. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet Sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of business.
Sabres come right back. 3 at the line as they enter. Drop pass. Here's Thompson, scores! Tage Thompson lets it rip, and he scores his 12th career goal in now 19 games against the Red Wings, and it's 1-0 Buffalo.
One of the first moments of the game. For the moments in your life, go forth to Firth Jewelers. Moments of the game brought to you by Firth Jewelers. Tage's goal. Sabres lose 7-3. Brian Koziel joins us on that and the Players' Championship next. All right, they need a new theme song. This isn't good enough.
This is the Players' Championship theme song?
Yeah, it's not good enough.
Yeah, this is bad, I think.
What do you want to see? Do you want to see the bag tag or the yardage book for number 17?
Let me see the yardage book.
Yardage book, okay. If you're on the
17.
feed, those of you in the chat, check this out. This is the yardage book from Sawgrass from a couple years ago. 17, the island green, of course, at TPC Sawgrass.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, right? Like, it is a...
what do we got there? What is the yardage on that thing? 137?
Depends. I mean, what you'll see is as, it goes around the water, you're deeper and deeper and more water, and the bunker comes more into play there.
Yeah.
As you're hitting over top of the bunker. There was a scene yesterday. Colin Morikawa's caddy got a hole-in-one. You see that video?
I did, yes. Yes, very cool.
I've got stuff I want to talk about that a little bit later, that video and just the general concept. Brian Koziel joining us on the Western Hotline to chat about the Players' Championship, which starts today, and also the Sabres, who lost last night to the Detroit Red Wings 7-3. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. The scene yesterday when Morikawa's caddy made that was pretty wild.
It was so great. It made me realize that your buddy hitting a hole-in-one, is it on the level of Pominville's overtime winner in Ottawa? Everybody went nuts. I mean, I know it's one guy and it's not exactly your team, but Morikawa was so happy. It's an absolutely incredible scene when that guy put that in yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed as though even the reaction from the spectators that were there, it was like it was, part of the tournament itself. But you're right. I mean, who doesn't love seeing a hole-in-one, right? I mean, I've only seen one in person at a professional tournament, and it was a very, very cool scene. It was during a PGA Championship. Charles Howell III actually did it at Baltusrol, and the crowd went bonkers. It was awesome. I was watching it from the tee, so I didn't get to see it maybe up close. If you're there by the green and you get to see it roll in, I'm sure it's got to be insane. But to do it on one of the most iconic, well-known par threes in the world, that is really cool. And, let's face it, too. this tournament is one of the ones that the caddies kind of are allowed to participate in, and to have the shot at the 17th hole, like there's a little. This isn't just a random course where a caddie's just playing. Like, to do it on that stage, I mean, that is awesome. Everybody in the world that knows sports, even if you're not a big golf fan, you at least probably know about the island hole at 17 at Sawgrass. So like, the story kind of writes itself now that everybody knows what you're talking about when you say,
yep,
I had a hole-in-one there. Yeah, and that scene was just great.
And did it in front of people, too.
Yeah, right.
Yes. My fear, I have not had a hole-in-one in my life, and hopefully someday it'll happen, is that I make it when no one is around. Because sometimes I will play 9 holes by myself or something like that, and I'm like, I just hope whenever it happens for me that I'm with at least a few that get to see it, because I think part of the fun of it is to have that fun reaction where guys are literally bear hugging and tackling you to the point because they're so excited for you too.
Brian, on the list, on the Mount Rushmore, whatever you want, Sawgrass as an identifiable, knowable course for golf fans. I mean, you've got, of course, Augusta, St. Andrews. What's in third?
Maybe
Pinehurst.
Pebble Beach.
Pebble.
Yeah,
Pebble,
I think
Pinehurst.
Pebble's definitely amongst the 4. Maybe Pinehurst. I mean, Pinehurst last year obviously drew rave reviews with how great that U.S. Open was, with Bryson and Rory going at it. And in terms of access, I think too is good. I mean, if the public is able to have access to the course, I think that also helps. I mean, I know the Masters, it's very, 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 very challenging to get on, but St. Andrews for sure. You and I could go play St. Andrews.
Yep.
Pebble Beach, you can. It's expensive. Sawgrass, it's expensive, but you can do it. I think that helps with the connectivity with people watching to these courses. Yeah, I think without thinking too hard, I think that's my answer. I think it's Augusta, Sawgrass, St. Andrews, and Pebble Beach.
Brian Koziel on the Wester Hotline. We'll get a little Sabres thought here in a moment, but Sawgrass this weekend, the Players' Championship. Brian, I feel like we're going to do it every week where I say, how close are we to the merger or the reunification of the golf world? And now it seems like there's a little bit of an impasse. It had a lot of momentum, and now it's just a waiting game, I suppose. But these elevated events, I know that we're missing half of the best players in the world. The elevated events have a good enough field that I don't know. I'm still in a spot where a lot of those guys that left, I kind of forget about them. And when they come back, that'll be great. But until they do, fine, guys. Have a good time, whatever you're doing. Come back when you're ready.
Yes. Last week it was a perfect example of that. The Arnold Palmer Invitational was very, very good. And even with a player, if you follow the PGA Tour, you know who Russell Henley is, but maybe for the casual golf fan, you may or may not have enough about him. But he's been excellent enough to the point where he has been close to win majors. He's played in international competition, so fans probably know who he is. But that was a really, really dramatic ending in the sense that, he's down 1 to Morikawa. Morikawa is as steady of a player as there is on PGA Tour. He doesn't make mistakes, so he's just going par on this really hard course last week. And Henley makes a birdie on a par 3 that was super tough, and then chips in for eagle and takes the 1-shot lead. And it made for some really good drama, I think, down the stretch. And obviously this week you're going to get that again because of the fact that people know the course so well. The stage of how this course finishes with a reachable par 5 with water and sand, and then the island green, and then a very, very tough par 4. I think visually it's the coolest tee shot on 18 for the PGA Tour season. I think, I'm not saying it's the best hole. I'm not saying it's the hardest hole, but I think visually on 18, when you just have that huge, huge lake pond to your left and how the hole just wraps right around it. Mm-hmm. And the bailout, of course, is on the right, but that puts you in trouble, and there's trees and there's spectators and all that sort of stuff. So I think that visual 18th hole drive is a really, really cool one to end on. So, yeah, I think there's plenty of good drama this week. This is the PGA Tour's biggest event of the season. The majors aren't officially run by the PGA Tour, so that I guess would make this their biggest event. Yeah, the merger. Jay Monahan spoke this week. He said kind of what he's been saying, which is not that much. Just like, yep, well, progress is being made. I know people want to hear about the plan, but still not ready to be unveiled. I would say maybe the biggest news of the Live PGA Tour week came from Brooks Koepka. He was asked before the Live event, which is in Singapore this week, about returning or just, the merger itself, and the thought of, hey, does he want to return? And all Brooks said was, well, I have to fulfill my contract with Live, and then we'll see where it goes. I mean, usually when you're a part of any organization, you take more of a positive spin than that. I mean, that was about as cut and dry of, well, I have to play here because that's what my contract says, but then we'll see. I mean, and Koepka's not always warm and fuzzy when he gives answers, but I thought that was alarming in the sense that he's like, he is probably thinking, well, as soon as this is done, I'm going to figure out a way to get back.
Brian, the iconic 16th, 17th, 18th, maybe in fourth place this week will be the sixth hole because they replanted a giant tree.
Yes, it's hanging over into what looks like their flight path for their tee shot. They brought it in. I think I read it was 500,000 pounds that they brought in and excavated it from the ground. I mean, literally, if you see the pictures of this being installed, it looks like there's, I would say, a circumference around here, a radius of maybe 15 yards around this tree that they took the entire land that goes with it with all the roots and everything to make sure that it is going to be stable and healthy. Yeah, so they planted that. You'll definitely see that, I'm sure. I mean, I'm curious to see the shot tracer track this week to see how close it does come to this tree. It was there for many years. They removed it. I don't know if there was some sort of call to bring it back or if they thought, hey, this is what made this hole pretty unique or cool about it. So they're bringing it back. So, yeah, watch tee shots on 6 this week. There's a tree that's overhanging that probably for all of us we would say, hey, this is in the way. Why is it even there?
Brian Koziel on the Western Hotline.
Real quick to wrap on the players. Scheffler has won back-to-back years. He's the favorite. Is his putting, though, kind of back to being up and down? Because that kind of what it looked last weekend.
Yeah, I would say he was just he turned his putting to another level last year that made him dominate. We've obviously mentioned his game from the tee box all the way to the green was like number one in virtually every category that matters. But his putting was always like, oh, he's 117th, something like that.
Right.
That would bring him back a little bit. But then when he won all those events last year, it was because his putting really got to a better level. He switched last year to a mallet putter. He switched his style a little bit. This year, I would say it's below average again, his putting. He's officially in 2025, not won yet. And last year, he's put together a few wins already as of this point. But last year, this is where he really got going, where he won the player. He won at the Arnold Palmer, then he won the Players, and then eventually turned it into a Masters win. So, that trifecta, pretty special during this time of year. So we'll be curious here. No one's ever won 3 in a row at this event. So we'll see if he can do it. It's tough because this course doesn't necessarily favor, everybody says doesn't really necessarily favor one golfer or the other because of just the style of it, that it's such a unique, wide variety set of holes. So for Scheffler, obviously, when he's putting well, every course probably favors him. So that'll definitely be a storyline for him. I'm curious to see if McIlroy, who's won here before too, can continue his good play. He faded a little last weekend, but overall this year I think he's been much better. So we'll see if he can kind of get himself into the mix too here.
Brian, where's Tee to Green this week? What's the plan for you guys?
So we are at the Western New York PGA offices, which actually is inside the big clubhouse at Glen Oak. We're going to be joined by a couple of PGA pros. One is kind of in charge of essentially career relations. Like if you want to get a job in golf, beyond all of our dreams of being a professional golfer, well, once maybe that doesn't happen, if you want to work in golf, he's going to tell you a little bit about it. And also another PGA pro about their path to getting certified to be a pro. So a little bit on that stories I'm excited to hear about. So if you want to work in golf or you got a kid that maybe wants to work in golf, this might be a good show to listen to. And then we'll obviously, the second half of the show, we'll have a ton of the players. Kevin Sylvester's there this week working for PGA Tour Radio, so Kevin will be live at Sawgrass for the second half of the show.
All right. A parting shot or thought on the Sabres last night?
Well, it's probably, yeah, a similar script, a decent start, a blown lead, a terrible finish. Luukkonen's game erratic, where he makes great saves to keep you in it, but then at the same time lets in goals that you're shaking your head as if to say, uh-oh, is he taking a step back? And thought it was all wrapped up there in one. Reminders that Patrick Kane chose Detroit over Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, poor defense down the stretch for sure. I mean, to give up all those goals that they did. And Detroit, and another repeating pattern, another team that came in struggling. Detroit had lost 6 in a row, only won 2 of 10, and you let them score 7 and win. I mean, we've had that quite a bit this year where we come in and talk about a storyline of the game. Hey, this team's on a losing skid. This team's playing poorly, and then, play the Sabres, and suddenly you feel like you've rejuvenated yourself, and I'm sure that's how Detroit's feeling this morning.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, guys, thanks. Enjoy the players. Should be fun.
Yeah, Brian Koziel on the Western Hotline. Speaking of the players, I know the Golf Expo, the Golf Buffalo Expo is this weekend. We're going to get a guest on tomorrow to talk about it at Riverworks on Sunday, 3 to 6. There's a watch party for the final round of the players, and lots going on for the Western New York, the 2025 Golf Expo coming up Sunday, 3 to 6 at Riverworks. So, golf season getting closer. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. Speaking of which, when we get back, Josh Allen pulls a card out of John Rahm's, pulls a club out of John Rahm's bag. And, he'll live up to it where Rahm didn't. We'll explain that when we get back on WGR. Jeremy White here for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of WGR. When it comes to the month of March, of course, it's all about college basketball. And you can jump in and pick a dog of the day with a profit boost. Dog of the day profit boost tokens from FanDuel available right now. One of the best parts of these tournaments is rooting for underdogs when they take down powerhouses, whether it's, for an automatic bid in the conference tournament, or it's, in the actual big one itself, you can get a profit boost token, and when your underdog bet wins, you land even more winnings with that profit boost. So this is your chance to ride with the long shots and get paid accordingly. FanDuel.com/white to download America's #1 sportsbook today and back your dog of the day with that profit boost. After all, anything can happen in March. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Wager of at least plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable profit boost token. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
The way that I make sense of it, when you start getting these fairly big numbers throughout the entire league, it's weird to say this, but what's 5 more going to do for my life that I can't already do right now? It's not that crazy to me, right? Like, I live a pretty good life, got a house, got a car, we're good. I wasn't looking to absolutely kill them every chance that I could, and I told my agent that. I was like, hey, if this has any impact on the pack, let's figure out a way to not do that. So, again, we were both sides.
Bills quarterback Josh Allen on a Zoom call yesterday to chat with the media about his contract extension, basically saying, he didn't go and break the market at quarterback because he told his agent he didn't really need to. I'm fine. What difference is another 5? He says 5 to me, meaning like $5 million a year, which life's good if $5 million doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen, basically they're saying life is good. It reminded me, Joe, of the number was a little different, but John Rahm said, what does $400 million do for me? John Rahm said $400 million wouldn't materially change his life. And then, of course, he went to live anyway afterwards.
And then he did take the $400 million.
He did eventually. Maybe if it was 5, John Rahm would have done it. And maybe if it was 400, Josh Allen would be in a different conversation. But whatever. It did remind me of Rahm saying, I live a good life. I don't actually need it. Which, you hear Allen say that. Don't we all like to think we would be like that?
Yes. We like to think we would be.
If you signed a contract for $250 million guaranteed, you wouldn't push to make sure it's $274. Like, it's fine. Especially in the interest of helping the cap a little bit, if that's ultimately what happened.
If that is what happened. Also, it's easy for him to sit up there and say that I want to help with the cap as much, and what's an extra 5 when he did get $100 million more guaranteed than any other quarterback ever that isn't named Deshaun Watson.
Right.
So it's not like he got nothing for taking $5 million less. He got $100 million more guaranteed than Burrow got.
Yeah.
So he got his money.
Life is
he
good.
Got his money. He just got it in a different form. He might have less incentives than other guys. He might be. It's more the money is locked in with him than with other guys.
Think about how good life is for him. The offseason, he does what he wants. He plays golf. He does that. And then you sign for $100 million more guaranteed and take a little less than that. Right. And it's like, what a guy.
What a guy.
But in all seriousness, good for him. Good for him.
He did probably help them with the cap.
Yeah.
Without saying, and then the agent too, hey, I don't, because isn't that kind of what the agents do, that we see it through all the reporters, that what do they want? They want the big number posted everywhere, I got my guy $60 million. And maybe that's where Allen said, I don't need it out there that I got $60 million. I don't care enough about it.
Right. 803-0550.
Hey, speaking of contracts, we have a new James Cook social media post.
Oh.
It was posted on his Instagram last night.
All right. So here's a man that does want $5 million or more. All right. We'll take a look at that. We'll give the update on James Cook and a little more on Kaiir Elam and what the Bills got in this trade. And we can see anything about what they're going to do with that. 803-0550 on WGR.
Stinky Joe DiBiase here as we are exiting winter here, and the weather gets a little bit nicer. Maybe you were putting something off with your car because if it got banged up in the winter, you thought, let me just get through the winter and then I'll deal with it in the spring. Well, be sure to head over to Clinton Collision. When I need work, those are the guys I trust. Go to Clinton Collision. They're the real deal. They bring wrecked cars back to life, whether it is something like a cracked bumper or a smashed fender, or if you got something that's pretty major. Definitely check out out Clinton Collision. They work with all insurance companies. Don't let anybody tell you where to get your car fixed. So if you happen to be involved in one of the many, many accidents that we had over the winter, whether it was a car hitting black ice or a rogue shopping cart, whatever it was, call the guys that I trust, Clinton Collision, 716-823-2000, or you can visit their website, clintoncollision.com.